Good day, viewers. Welcome to a new edition of 30 Minutes, the interactive program of Trust Television with me, Manir and Ali. Our guest today is someone who will explain to us why we can no more afford to eat eggs or chicken meat. I'm talking about the Director General of the Poultry Association of Nigeria, Mr. Onalla Akpa. Mr. Akpa, welcome to the program.
It's a pleasure. Thank you that I'm here with you today.
Yeah, you look like someone who may have had eggs in his breakfast, maybe because you are in the Poultry Association, but most people these days have struck of egg in their menu.
Well,
what is happening?
Maybe because of the too much egg I've eaten in the last 32 years. So I'm still having a reserve of those eggs, and then maybe it hasn't completely depleted out of my body system, and that is what you are seeing today. If not, I'm also not being able to eat egg.
Why would that be so? Because people will be surprised. You are the Director General of the association that deals with matters to do with egg, meat, and all other related products related to chickens.
Well, there is no free meal anyway. For you to go into a restaurant and you say you want to have a plate of food, you have to pay for it. So it also applies to egg. Even if you are producing the egg yourself, you have to be accountable. You have to be efficient. You have to pay for it before you take it off the farm. And if you continue to do that on a daily basis without actually paying, then you are depleting the resources of your investment. And if you do that, eventually, that is what is leading to closure of most of the farms now. Because people are not efficient. They think they are the owner of the products. They want to pick it and eat it anyhow. And then eventually, before you know, your investment is wiped up. So everybody is being prudent in what he eats and how he manages the little investment he still has, so that he doesn't go extinct out of the business.
What exactly is happening in that industry?
Well, it's a paradox of good stories and bad stories. The poultry industry in the last years, people never knew, had been the revolving livelihood of most of the families, and even in terms of income generation. Because in those days, if you had 500 laying birds at the back of your home, you were better off than somebody who could be on level 15, level 16 of the graded salary.
Right.
But today, it is no longer possible. Why? Because of so many factors. And what are these factors?
Can you enumerate some of them?
You know, the liberalization of the economy from SAP,
Structural Adjustment Program, which started long ago.
Which started long ago, in the 80s. Before then, there was what we call a development plan, where you have to have a homegrown economy. In the homegrown economic development plan, inputs were bought, day-old chicks were given, equipments were given to Nigerians to be involved in poultry production. Now, when that happened before the structural adjustment program, you know, every other person went into poultry production. So in that era, we were very, very well sufficient.
But I thought...
But when the structural adjustment program came, and then the World Bank came with a lot of policies, now, people say it's a global, it's one world economy. Now, the prices of things started rising. When the price of things started rising, you know, we were unable to have a controlled economy. We were being subjected to external factors of...
Probably because you are using external items to feed those birds. So, but I thought that the golden age of poultry, the poultry sector, was under President Obasanjo, 1999 to 2007. Because Obasanjo, being a poultry farmer, kind of helped that industry so that we now even stopped importing day-old chicks. Then the whole economy was kind of supportive of the industry. Is that not the case?
Yes, I know. Fortunately, I've been there for over 34 years now. I've been consistently in the poultry industry. And I will say it with all emphasis, not because Obasanjo is a poultry farmer. That is the mistake people were making. Because he understood the economy, the local economy of the Nigerian system. One, maybe because he had been involved in poultry production before, And then at a point, he now discovered that the poultry economy that he knew very well, that was a revolver of family livelihood, of family empowerment, of people taking the right nutrition, maybe because it was cheap, maybe because they could afford from their farms, was going down.
Here and you are talking about the smallholder farmers.
Even the smallholder farmers. Yes. The smallholder poultry farmers, and then the medium-scale poultry farmers. Yes. Then at a point before the advent of Obasanjo's second coming, that is the civilian dispensation, Nigeria was like a dumping ground for all kinds of poultry and poultry products. And he saw it because he was involved in production. He was involved in the poultry economy. So now, in his eyes, the things were going bad. So not because he was or is a poultry farmer. You know, people try
because he understands the
economics of things. Now, if it were because he was a poultry farmer, he could as well have made money by bringing in table eggs, hatching eggs, day-old chicks from everywhere by sheer monopoly, allotting everything to himself. But he decided to put some measures, economic measures, that could bring back the glory of the poultry industry. And we witnessed the best during his reign.
So can you remind us of the situation? How bad was it? You did allude that we were importing like chicken meat, even eggs. How long ago was it that Nigeria had to be importing eggs that we consume?
Well, because the system was bad, and I told you it started from the structural adjustment program.
Yes. The Babangida years of the 1986, 87.
Yes, he did the best he could do, but there was a free market for the goods, and everybody was trying to bring all kinds of things. And then people who had investment prior to 2002, 2003, were having less than 10% capacity utilization of their poultry investment, because every other thing was coming. Every kind of person was bringing all kinds of things into the poultry economy of Nigeria.
I remember in the 70s, 80s, there used to be one of probably the biggest poultry farm in Nigeria near Kano, in Tiga, Anadaria farm, which eventually more or less folded up.
Even before Anadaria, or during the period of the glorious day of Anadaria, there was the farm we call Asamo Farms. Asamo Farms was one of the biggest farms, but a lot of people never knew about it.
Where was it located?
It was located in the north central, around Kwara area. Now, other than Asamo Farm, we had the Michelle Farm, which was located in Sapele, in Mosingo area of Delta State. Now, people never knew even the history of poultry production in Nigeria, from independence up to where we are today. A lot of people never knew about it. But I continue to tell people, if we had Asamo Farm, we had Michelle Farms, we had Anadaria Farms, we had Back Farms in those good old days. And then all of them went down until the glorious day of Baba Obasanjo. And then farms started coming. We started having another set of foreign direct investment coming into the industry. And everybody started having poultry as the darling of investment destination. That today, we are having a revise of this case. Now, so, revise is...
But in the golden age, do you have an idea of the capacity of those big farms? Are you talking about the ones that keep up to 1 million birds or less or more? And what sort of numbers of employment could they have provided?
Yes, until in the last 3 years or thereabout, the poultry industry in Nigeria provides direct and indirect employment to almost 25 million Nigerians. The entire poultry value chain. When you say poultry value chain, you have people who are involved in marketing, you have aggregators, you have people producing egg, you have people producing feeds, you have people supplying feed raw materials, you have people retailing the feeds. The same thing, you have people selling live birds from the poultry farm, you have people doing the processed chicken, that is the frozen chicken. So the entire value chain of the poultry industry, including the feed, was providing 25 million direct and indirect employment. Now, I continue to also tell people, the crop sector alone couldn't have had the boom they had without the poultry industry.
Because they are off-takers of the
because grains. As the poultry industry grew, the demand for maize and soya was also on the increase. Before the last 10 years, people never knew about soya, when we transited from animal-based protein source to plant-based, that is when soya came. And a lot of people shifted from using blood meal, from using all kinds of animal source protein to feed animal, to plant-based. So now you discover that a lot of intensity in crop production, especially in soya, emerged. Now, before then, hardly were people using up to 1 million metric tons of feed for the entire country. But up to about, even up to today, we are having about almost 4.4 million to 4.5 million metric tons of maize being utilized by the poultry industry alone.
But there's also the counter argument, especially by people who consume maize, either as flour-made tuwo and others, that why are you feeding birds when human beings are not satisfied, are not sated?
It's simple understanding of science. You must understand science. What does cereals, maize, what does it give? It's pure carbohydrates. It's energy. It hasn't, the protein content of maize is less than 10%. It's less than 10%. So we are now talking that for you to have a very good health, you must have a balance of carbohydrate and protein. And then where do you have the protein from? You have the protein from poultry. The cheapest of all, even before now and up to today, is egg. And that is why we call the egg nature's vitamin, because it contains all the vitamins, all the minerals, all the probiotics. It contains a lot of amino acids. You understand? So when people say close down the poultry industry, so because maize is not sufficient for human consumption, then you are going to have a distorted growth. You are going to have a lot of malnutrition, because you must have a balance of energy and protein. So it is an understanding, it's the basic understanding, the simple understanding of science. Today, we are being bedeviled by a lot of negative factors. If not, I don't see a situation where Nigerians should not be able to produce over 20 to 30 million metric tons of maize and soya on an annual basis.
But there are extraneous factors,
a lot of factors, insecurities. People cannot go to the farm. Before now, every other person is a spoiled child. You understand? Nobody believes in agriculture. I entered into agriculture since 1989. Perpetually, I've been in agriculture. Despite the fact that my main area is livestock. But since 1992 up to today, there is no year I don't do crop. And I still do it. But my mates, my friends insulted me. Somebody, a friend, told me some years back that except when he's died and he's been lowered into the coffin, that he will bend down to see he's going to produce before he eats. But today, I still see him. I don't want to stir controversy. The reality is on our faces. So if all of us had gone into subsistence agriculture that most of us who grew up in the village knew about, then if you don't even make money out of this, you should be able to feed your family. You go all over this country, you travel wide, I travel wide. We have the best arable land. How many of them are under cultivation? Now, there should be a definite effort to see that even if people don't do it, you should be, those that are willing to do it, empower them to have commercial agriculture. And I continue to tell people, Nigeria is living from the efforts of the family farms. And today, other than the insecurity, what is actually happening to us is that the emerging population that is supposed to replace the people that have been sustaining us, that is the family farms, that are already aging, are already inside our towns. But most doing people, virtually nothing.
Yes.
Security guy, Okada rider. So to me, as a development person, there should be deliberate effort for us to sit down and do a mapping. What is actually happening? Today, you can't see anybody having 500 to 1,500 hectares of land under cultivation. I have never seen 500, except few people. And what percentage of it is for a population of 200 million. So if we are having 20, 30 million metric tons of maize, with the factors of economics, small economics of supply and demand, the price of maize could be down, the price of soya could be down.
But you are right. Farming isn't exciting. It doesn't excite young people because they think it's the one way to poverty. So how do you make it attractive so that you have the succeeding generation? As you did say, most of the farmers are aging.
Manir, it has to start from orientation. We must orientate, and I'm happy. Today you go to most of our universities, you see people doing agriculture. But are they interested in real farming, or they're interested in the A4 decorated, which is the certificate? You must do deliberate orientation and reorientation of these guys. I tell people, somebody said, why is it two of your children or three are into agriculture? Why do you force them? I said, I didn't force them. I only advise them. My time will come, I will go. I'm able to struggle, do farming, just exercise the knowledge I have to be able to train them. And wherever they are, eventually you must have to come down and see what the family grew up to train you, and which is agriculture. So we must do deliberate orientation. The orientation has to start from the family. The family might not be aware of it. The family might not be able to control the children. The family may not have the good understanding of what we are saying to orientate and educate the children. So government has a lot of tasks. Now, today you have a lot of rural-urban migration. Is it supposed to be? There must be deliberate effort to develop the local areas in such a way that it can be affordable. Then you have to get people who understand the system of agriculture. Send them to orientate these people. You understand? Encourage them from startup. I'll give you one example. I'm sorry I'm taking your time.
Yes, before then, I would like us to go on a short break and resume the conversation thereafter.
It's a pleasure.
Welcome back. It is still 30 minutes, the interactive program of Trust Television, and our guest today is Mr. Onalla Akpa, the Director General of the Poultry Association of Nigeria. Before the break, you've been expanding the scope of our discussion, even beyond just the poultry, but the larger agriculture sector. And you are about to give me an example of maybe the kind of orientation that we need to have in the society, where we get to where we see even European countries. You said you've traveled, I have traveled. It's amazing that in Europe, with all their artificial intelligence and all of that, you see that farming is still the key. You see that between towns, everywhere is being farmed, but it's the opposite here. And we only farm during the rainy season. There is very little irrigation happening.
Sir, you know, in discussing poultry, we must discuss the broader agriculture. If you don't do that, then we won't understand the context of what we are discussing. You know, this deliberate orientation of the young generation, it costs money, and we must produce the money, either by any means, because this is a country of 20 million people.
200.
Over 200 million, over 200 million people and above, with the youth forming the largest percentage of the population. 2019, I decided to do something. I grew up with my father. I grew up on the farm. Maybe it gave me a different orientation from what other people have. And I said, look, when I was growing up with my father, during holidays, I used to visit some of his relations. So I remembered as a child that I was visiting a village. So I called one of my cousin brother. You people used to have very good land. He said, most of the land is still not being used. I said, okay, fine. I'm talking about 2029.
Right.
I said, I'm going to do something. He said, what is it? I said, I'm coming. Gather the farmers, the local farmers. Gathered up to 50 people. I'm coming. I'm bringing soya. I'm bringing hybrid soya. I'm bringing the seed from certified seed from IITA. I'm coming with pumps. I'm coming with chemicals. I want to empower the villagers. And I want to start it on the pilot project. I'm going to introduce soya into the system. I'm going to give them these materials, form a small committee of people that will administer this. I employed 2 guys. One is a Ghanaian. He's still with me. As an extension agent.
How did it end?
Sir, it ended up well. Where I'm coming into, there was a copper who was teaching in the community secondary school. He took these inputs. He took the seats. People were providing extension service. In that season, he had 40 bags of soya. Soya was not very expensive. It was around 20,000
that year.
That year per bag. There was 2 women, housewives, who had 30, 40 bags of soya. Do you know that NYC guy, he has never left that village up to today? Because
he saw opportunity.
He saw opportunity. I did it 2019, I did it 2020, 2021. Then when maybe they thought I was making money. And the good aspect of it is that at the end of every season, I buy at the prevailing market price the products of the market, of the farm from you at the prevailing market price. Now, one advantage to them, you don't need to transport to the market. I'll buy. I'll do the haulage. Believe you me, my brother, in a year, I made 120 tons. 120 tons, that is how many trailers? 120 divided by 30. Yeah. That's a lot. 4 trailers.
Yeah, yes.
4 trailers. So, sir, that copper is in that village, and now he has gone into the commodity merchant, farming and also trading. Now, if you are able to do this within the community, and then you make the community sustainable in terms of there is good hospital, there is recreation facilities, there is light, how is Abuja becoming attractive for him? Because all these guys that are here, sir, they are nuisances to us. And they are nuisances even to themselves. Because the moment you come to puberty, he wants to marry, he wants to have a girlfriend. The next thing, either intentionally or unintentionally, you start having children. You start having children. How do you train them? You want them to be like you. So the government is a government of social responsibility. You don't measure social responsibility with returns in terms of income or revenue. It must be deliberate, and you must spend this money. If you don't, then there's a social problem.
But remember, there was a time when there used to be the marketing board, which were scrapped and we are told that is inimical to free market economy and all of that. But at least when it was there, it aggregated this, it supported farmers, and all of that, and there is the minimum price guarantee for farmers, so that from the beginning, you can decide whether you want to farm X product or Y product.
Well, I think,
is that something you think?
Yes, I think in the wisdom of the government, they have what we call the strategic grain reserve,
which is largely empty from what I hear. Which is likely
empty. I am also saying it is empty, because in a population of 200 million persons, you don't have, even if you have a reserve of 2 million, it's just like a drop of water in an ocean. Exactly. Assuming there is a crisis, how do you deploy it? How many people? So we should have a reserve of no less than 20-30 million metric tons at any point in time, untouched.
And unspoiled, because as we found out when the last time Poultry Association was given some maize,
and they were bad.
And it was like powder form.
The orientation, apart from the youth, must also go to the adults, must also go to the educated people, because we are partly part of the problem. And sometimes when I want to define Boko Haram, I define Boko Haram in a wider context. Has education benefited us?
Can we come back to the poultry sector? Is it also the selfishness of poultry farmers that is responsible for the 5,500 naira per crate now obtainable at many farm gates? And there is the threat by people from your association that it may even reach 10,000.
Yeah, I am also saying it will reach 10,000. I'm also saying it.
So you are threatening us?
It's not a threat. It's the dynamic of the market. Production and market forces. Today, I've ever been to your farm some years back. If you are selling a crate of egg today, you are not making at 6,000, at 5,500. Madam Manir, you are not making too much profit. You are making a small profit, but because of what you do on a daily basis, you can't stop your farm. You see, the price of maize at harvest now is around 600,000 per metric ton.
It depends on location.
Depends on location and city.
Just yesterday, I was told it's 50,000 around Saminaka, around Jingir, and even around Jiria.
I'm being magnanimous so that people don't say I'm bloating.
Yes.
Now, the price of soya, this time by December last year, I was offered soya from that boy I was saying at 330,000 per metric ton. If you are having one bag at 100 kilo, that means 10 bags will give you 1 ton.
Yes.
Today, soya is 960,000 per metric ton, by over 300%. Sir, you buy this, you buy maize, 80% of your cost of production is cereals, maize and soya.
That's if you are compounding your feed.
If you are compounding,
you are in bigger trouble if you are buying commercial feed.
If you are buying,
and that's what majority of people have to do.
Yes, sir. When you do this, by the time you add your overhead, electricity tariff, is on the high side. During Obasanjo, and I continue fighting with this now, with Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, we have what we call agric and agro-allied electricity rate. I have the paper, I have written, and they said no. The distribution company are in the private hands. They are not going to implement it.
But they are making exactly the same argument you are making about poultry. Their own cost of production has gone up, which is why they are charging band A rates.
Okay, this is also what I'm saying. This should be a deliberate effort. We are talking of agriculture. You know, food insecurity is the worst form of insecurity. An angry man, a hungry man is an angry man. An extremely angry man. I pray we don't come to that level. It's very, very serious. Now, if you put this together, formerly if you're buying lysine or methionine,
that's one of the additives for
one of the additives.
Feed.
Yes, we don't produce them in this country. You buy lysine, even ordinary toxin binder, we don't produce in this country. You have to import them. And in importation, you know what it is to source forex.
So part of the problem is our forex situation.
Our forex situation.
The way Naira's value has fallen.
The cost of energy, the cost of feed raw materials, the overhead cost in itself. When you put all of them together, you have 500,000 laying beds. Put your overhead in a month. Divide them by the number of crates of egg that comes out, or by the number of beds that you have that are still at the growing stage. Now you now know what it is. Do you sell below the cost of production to appease the populace?
So just before we go, is there a light at the end of the tunnel? Is it a long tunnel? Can you see?
Yeah, there is the light at the end of the long. There is the light at the end of the tunnel.
Under a minute.
Yes, sir. There is light. There is hope. 200 million plus population. We need
opportunity.
Opportunity. We need protein. I see it as a phase. And we'll continue to talk like this so that the people at the other side, the government should realize with us. Let's sit down on the conference table, discuss poultry. I said it on channels on Saturday morning, Saturday or Friday morning while I was in Lagos. Poultry Development Fund, see that the environment is secure so that a lot of people can go into production. Do deliberate investment in agriculture, not by the allocation that you cannot measure the impact. Then we should be able to have the system brought back. And because 200 million people must eat protein, they must survive. Let government not, under this pressure, allow the importation of frozen chicken and table eggs into this country, because some people are waiting for that to happen so that they can sell their products. In that instance, the little job we are creating now will be exported out. That is my
very good point to end this edition of the interview.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on the program.
It's a pleasure.
That's the end of this edition of 30 Minutes. Viewers, keep a date with us.